moving quite well with the month, and also trusting that you are moving well with your daily work. I mean, we've seen disruptions here and there, but I'm trusting that you're choosing to float above whatever distractions that could be there. Once again, welcome to the show. And of course, in studio, I always have a team that we move with and discuss with and wake you up with. Just so you know, we are glad that you get to be part of the show. Robert is in the house. Sonko is already here as well. And of course, we're going to be having the discussions as usual. We're going to be giving you the news updates. We are going to be making sure that you have all the information that you should be having to usher you into the day. And of course, I want to know how the team slept. Because you never know. They could have told you they slept well, maybe not, or encountered some challenges to work that you might want to look out for, something like that. Sonko, how is your morning?
My morning is okay.
Are you sure?
I'm really doing fine. You know, I did manifest a great September at the start of it, so that is why you always see me in a very good mood. I'm always in a good mood every morning since the month of September started. So I'm doing well. I'm actually doing well. So good morning to our dear viewers. Good morning, Ugandans. Many thanks for always waking up with us. And yeah, Chantal, I'm doing all right.
Well, since you said you manifested a good September, let's check on your neighbor and see if it happened to pass through him by osmosis. Hi, Chirabo.
Hello, everyone. Hello, team. Hope you're fine. Well, my morning has been a bit disturbed by some police officers around Nsambya barracks, but this side of Mukwano. You know, these guys assume that they must be visible and just cross the road.
What were they wearing? Because at some point they're supposed to be reflective
dark
jackets.
And a line of people just closes regardless of first looking right, left, then right again, and trying to save a few of them. I ended up messing up my machine. So
sorry about that.
Just something that disorganized me, and I've seen it on several occasions. These are people who hold others for not having helmets. They ride without helmets. Overloading, they load to, you know, have reflectors. Many of them break what they are meant to enforce.
Oh dear. Well, the message that Chirabo is putting out to our dear law enforcement, our dear men in uniform, especially police, if you should move at that time, since you're advocating for reflected jackets, please do have one, because if you get knocked,
yes,
someone may not be accountable, especially for your life. Either way, even if you took them to jail or something, it can't bring back that leg you would have lost or the life that would have been lost. Well, at this moment, we'll be having a discussion that I would like to interest you in, especially someone like Sonko. At what age would you like to get married, Sonko?
I love the question. I love the question because I was actually thinking about the same thing yesterday night.
You want to get married?
No.
Oh.
I was wondering, you know, at times the clock starts ticking, and when it's ticking, you feel like maybe you should consider getting someone to do this life thing with. But then I realized that I'm maybe being too harsh on myself, so I won't be putting an age bracket, or let's say an age mark when I will be getting married or something. But I think it is better before I hit 40. So that would be, as for me, I've come to realize it's better before you hit 40.
Before 40.
Before 40. Because I would say before 30, but then I realized that, you know, at times you want
before 30, men don't know what, most men, don't know what they want. But I'd like to know what
maybe they are still doing certain things that need some finding of themselves.
Among other reasons, the primary reason, most men don't know what they want before 30.
Before 30.
And
they still have lots of options.
They really give headache to our young girls. But I'd like to hear from Chirabo. The age he would recommend to get married. I'm trying to drive at something. There was a story yesterday. There was the coronation anniversary of the Kabaka, or the king of Toro.
Of Toro.
And of course, recently the news, Omukama, the news that came out of the, how do they call the king of Busoga?
Chabazinga.
Chabazinga, thank you. The Chabazinga of Busoga introduced a fresh wife. Now they're saying this man is 30 and we are not seeing anyone, and they're telling him, oh, what's that? You know that prominent question that usually is rampant in December. Or what's I do when I'm getting married? Do you have someone? So I'd like to hear from you, Chirabo. What age do you recommend to get married?
35 is fairly okay for a man.
For a man, oh,
35
great.
is very okay, because when you delay marriage as a man, look at what age will your children be and how old will you be. If you get married, say at 40, by the time your
first child is
50,
10. Yeah,
your first child is only 10 years.
10 years.
By the time your firstborn is, when you're 60, you have a 20-year. Now the energy to fend, the energy to interact, your children are calling you almost grandfather when they, so you need to enjoy these kids, and when you still have the strength for them to, for you to be a proper parent. You know, as we age, we weaken on certain things. If you compare your kids when they go to your father's home, away from saying there is special love for grandkids, how your father raised you, they can't do the same to your children. They have lost energy, they, you know, and all that. So, because of the fact of children, it's good for a man to marry at 30 and have children. But if it weren't that, you would enjoy life until...
I wish they could amplify the sound, because what Cheryl is telling us.
But also sometimes when you go in this thing, there's still, and you know, sometimes life starts at 40. That's when you've now established yourself, you have a job, you have some money
So, you know, there's just that,
and that's where trouble comes in.
There's just that mentality where we say 40-year-old men have a different kind of look.
My friend.
You know, when it comes to other men.
Let's
Kamane is there.
Discussion.
Let's leave that conversation for off air, because you are going to cause a lot of trouble to some of us. So yesterday, 28 years on the throne is what was being celebrated in Toro, and I mean to Kabaka, to the King Oyo. Congratulations! I mean, 28 years on the throne is not very easy. Meanwhile, he went on the throne, or he was coronated at 3.5 years, and well, we would say he has really. We have watched him grow.
We've grown.
By then he was the youngest king. Yes, we've watched him grow. Well, we are going to be diving into more stories, especially the local stories on what is happening in Uganda, but also taking a look at the international scene and taking a look at also what is in the press this morning. For now, the local news.
We'll begin with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has urged Karamajong warriors to voluntarily surrender illegal guns and embrace development. He was officiating at the groundbreaking of a construction of a $300 million project to cling and cement by Chinese-based company West International Holding Cement Limited, which is going to produce cement and clinkers for the local sourced limestone from Moroto district. The factory sits on over 200 acres in Nadugat sub-county, Moroto district. It will produce 6,000 tons on daily basis and employ over 1,000 people. President Museveni urged Karamajongs to tap from the opportunities which the project has brought. And the king of Toro, Oyo, Nyimba, Kabamba, Igururukidi, the fourth, has urged his subjects to embrace development activities set aside by the kingdom under the 25-year development agenda for development of Toro Kingdom. He was speaking during the 28th coronation anniversary at Karuzika Palace in Fort Portal City. And Government Chief Whip Hamson David Obua has implored MPs to utilize the recess period and ensure government resources are put to good use. The MPs were last week sent by the Speaker of Parliament to a working vacation and monitoring government programs in their respective constituencies. David Obua has reminded the MPs of the recent key government programs being implemented at district and constituency level. And finally, from the local scene, Hoima District LC5 by-elections campaigns have winded up. Yesterday, with the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja and other senior NRM officials urging the people of Hoima to vote for their candidate Uthman Mugisha. The senior officials addressed 3 rallies with the message of improving service delivery and addressing rampant land conflicts in the area once the campaigns are over.
Away from that, we cross over and check what is happening on the international scene. We are starting with North Korea. Now, the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has arrived via rail in Russia, where he is due to meet President Putin. Mr. Kim left Pyongyang for Russia on Sunday on his private train, North Korea's state media reported. It is not known where the leaders will meet, as Mr. Kim's train is reportedly heading north away from the city, and a U.S. official said they were expected to discuss an arms deal as Russia faces Ukrainian counteroffensive. The Kremlin said the fully fledged visit would cover bilateral relations, the situation in the region, and in the global arena. The meeting could take place as early as Tuesday local time, although the statement from the Kremlin said it would happen in the coming days. And in the U.S., lawyers have presented opening arguments in a landmark antitrust case against the search engine Google, which could test the limits of corporate power in the United States. On Tuesday, in a crowded federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Justice Department argued that Google uses its wealth and influence to stifle competition and maintain its dominance as the most popular search engine. Google countered that internet users rely on the search engine because of its quality. Google pays more than $10 billion US per year for these privileged positions, said Kenneth, the Justice Department's lead litigator. Google's contracts ensure that rivals cannot match the search quality ad monetization, especially on phones, he added. Through this feedback loop, this wheel has been turning for more than 12 years. It always turns to Google's advantage. And in Africa, rescue teams in Libya are struggling to retrieve the bodies of victims that have been swept out to sea in tsunami-like flood waters. At least 2,300 have been killed, according to the ambulance authority in Dana, the worst affected city. 2 dams and 4 bridges collapsed in Dana, submerging much of the city when Storm Daniel hit on Sunday. About 10,000 people are reported missing, Red Crescent says, and the death toll is expected to rise further. Some aid has started to arrive, including from Egypt, but rescue efforts have been hampered by the political situation in Libya, with the country split between 2 rival governments. The US, Germany, Iran, Italy, Qatar, and Turkey are among the countries that have said they have sent or are ready to send aid. And still speaking matters climate, the Mediterranean storm that dumped torrential rain on the Libyan coast, setting off flooding that's believed to have killed thousands of people, is the latest extreme weather event to carry some of the hallmarks of climate change, and this is according to scientists. Daniel, dubbed a Medican for its hurricane-like characteristics, drew enormous energy from extremely warm seawater, and a warmer atmosphere holds more water vapor than that can fall as rain, and this is according to experts. It's difficult to attribute a single weather event to climate change, but we know there are factors that could be at play with storms like Daniel that make it more likely, said Kristen, an atmospheric scientist at the University of Albany. Medicans form once or twice a year in the Mediterranean and are most common from September to January. That is what is happening when it comes to climate updates, and also on what is happening on the international scene. Jerome Paul Sonko has what is in the press review locally.
Well, locally, a copy of the New Vision and the Daily Monitor is what I have this morning. Fresh details emerge in Cooperative's cash saga as members of parliament wanted over 150 billion Ugandan shilling scandal. More of that is in today's New Vision. Still with the front pages of the New Vision is killer Dr. Chirabo has been arrested. More of the same, New Vision, as over 10,000 are missing in Libya floods. Big story, that one. Then there is a pictorial of a special cement factory which has been launched, or which was launched in Karamoja. President Museveni with some of the Chinese investors that he was with at the opening of this particular factory. Then in Real Estate, Vision Group launches Homes Construction Expo. You can get more for the pre-test answers, Senior 3 Chemistry for the parents who are looking forward to taking their children back to school. This is something you can definitely look at. Now, in regards to the King Oyo's coronation, Oyo outlines 25-year plan. The coronation anniversary details are all in today's New Vision as well. Now, furthermore, with the Daily Monitor, new cement factory opened in Karamoja is the headline on the front pages of today's Monitor. Then in the Homes, Sexism and the City, how urban planning has failed women. You can get more of that in the Daily Monitor today. Now, FDC members plot to kick out Mafabi and Amoriat. That is in the other news. Then furthermore, UNESCO removes Kasubi tombs from the heritage sites in danger. Then border riot over death of colleague. Why is that? So you can definitely get more of that in here. Then how Uganda reduced death of pregnant women. There is a special health report of that in the Daily Monitor, as the United States companies stop Uganda imports over anti-gay law. Now the anti-gay law continues to bite, if you come to think of it. Then furthermore, in the Lizard, I thought we are in the digital age. Government rejects use of mobile money to send the elderly cash. Well, that's it for our local press review. Later on in the show, we shall be looking through what is making headlines across the East African region.
All right, thank you so much, Jerome Paul, for the updates. Well, we're going to be taking a very short break, but when we come back, we are going to be discussing one of the matters that really caused a lot of chaos in town yesterday, as we saw border riders protesting in town over the death of their colleague who was reportedly run down by a truck driver while he was trying to run away from KCCA enforcers and the police. And of course, this did not sit well with the police, with the border riders. And so we are definitely going to be here to have this conversation. And we would like you to be part of the conversation. And the question is, what measures can be put in place to enable border riders and enforcers work in harmony? Please do note that we have seen a number of cases where enforcers and the civilians have had a lot of, what can I call it, a lot of back and forth and conflict. And because of that, it has birthed what we see right now. So we will be having this discussion. We're looking at having harmony, and let's see how we can have that. Please do share your opinion and what you think and what you feel we can implement as a country for us to have some harmony, especially on the roads. Let's go for a very short break. We'll be right back.
UPC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Morning Uganda, indeed. Welcome to the show. My name is Chantal Olive Akandinda. Waking you up this morning. It is the 13th of September, and I'm hoping that you are moving quite well with the month, and also trusting that you are moving well with your daily work. I mean, we've seen disruptions here and there, but I'm trusting that you're choosing to float above whatever distractions that could be there. Once again, welcome to the show. And of course, in studio, I always have a team that we move with and discuss with and wake you up with. Just so you know, we are glad that you get to be part of the show. Robert is in the house. Sonko is already here as well. And of course, we're going to be having the discussions as usual. We're going to be giving you the news updates. We are going to be making sure that you have all the information that you should be having to usher you into the day. And of course, I want to know how the team slept. Because you never know. They could have told you they slept well, maybe not, or encountered some challenges to work that you might want to look out for. Something like that. Sanko, how is your morning?
My morning is okay.
Are you sure?
I'm really doing fine. You know, I did manifest a great September. at the start of it. So that is why you always see me in a very good mood. I'm always in a good mood every morning since the month of September started. So I'm doing well. I'm actually doing well. So good morning to our dear viewers. Good morning, Ugandans. Many thanks for always waking up with us. And yeah, Chantal, I'm doing all right.
Well, since you said you manifested a good September, let's check on your neighbor and see if it happened to pass through him by osmosis. Hi, Cherabo.
Hello, everyone. Hello, team. Hope you're fine. Well, my morning has been a bit disturbed by some police officers around Nsambya barracks, but this side of Mukwano. You know, these guys assume that they must be visible and just cross the road.
What were they wearing? Because there's at some point there's supposed to be reflective
dark
jackets.
And a line of people just closes regardless of first looking right, left, then right again, and trying to save a few of them. I ended up messing up my machine. So
sorry about that.
It's just something that disorganized me, and I've seen it on several occasions. These are people who hold others for not having helmets. They ride without helmets. Overloading, they load to, you know, have reflectors. Many of them break what they are meant to enforce.
Oh dear. Well, the message that Chero is putting out to our dear law enforcement, no, our dear men in uniform, especially police, if you should move at that time, since you're advocating for reflective jackets, please do have one, because if you get knocked,
yes,
someone may not be accountable, especially for your life. Either way, even if you took them to jail or something, it can't bring back that leg you would have lost or the life that would have been lost. Well, at this moment, we'll be having a discussion that I would like to interest you in, especially someone like Sonko. At what age would you like to get married, Sonko?
I love the question. I love the question because I was actually thinking about the same thing yesterday night.
You want to get married?
No.
Oh.
I was wondering, you know, at times the clock starts ticking, and when it's ticking, you feel like maybe you should consider getting someone to do this life thing with. But then I realized that I'm maybe being too harsh on myself, so I won't be putting an age bracket, or let's say an age mark when I will be getting married or something. But I think it is better before I hit 40. So that would be, as for me, I've come to realize it's better before you hit 40.
Before 40.
Before 40. Because I would say before 30, but then I realized that, you know, at times you want
before 30, men don't know what, most men, quote me all, don't know what they want. But I'd like to know what
maybe they are still doing certain things that need some finding of themselves.
Among other reasons, the primary reason, most men don't know what they want before 30.
Before 30.
Star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
Uncle, you should see London.
Oh, my boy. This has been 5 years. You should see Uganda.
Yes. Uncle Marcus, this is for my school.
See, soon there will be more than 1 million children learning like this for free.
This is impressive. Do you even have connection out here?
Well, we have 100% 4G countrywide.
Okay.
We even have 5G too.
That's approximately 700 billion Uganda shillings in tax, making Airtel one of the largest corporate income taxpayers over the last 5 years, helping build a better Uganda.
today your son, so our new Uganda.
Thank you, Uganda, for imagining it with us and making us the fastest growing telecom in the country over the past 5 years.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again. If you're just joining us, welcome to the show. And I would like to let you know that you can catch us, of course, on your TV set, but also you can catch us on YouTube because we do stream this show. So if you have missed the previous ones or even the first part of the show, worry not, you can get to catch up with us as time goes on. For now, we're going to be getting into the newsreel, and of course, we discuss matters of national importance. And we all do know the incident that took place yesterday where border riders came out and protested the death of their colleague after he was knocked down on 8th Street by a truck driver. And this, of course, comes after he was trying to run away from KCCA enforcers and police as well. The question, of course, lingers: who is to be blamed for the death of this border rider? According to the border riders, this is not an isolated incident. We have seen this happen. When you try to go to social media and get through the comments, some individuals say the police just stood by and they were not bothered about the life of this border rider. But also do note that other people will tell you border riders really cause a lot of mayhem on the road, and well, we have seen that happen a number of times. And please do note, this particular border rider was running because he did not have a license, a rider's license. Now, all those factors put together, you realize that there is a number of parties that need to be, for lack of a better way to put it, blamed in a way. The border rider was in the wrong. The truck driver could have been in the wrong, but also the enforcers, especially on the part of chasing, could have been also in the wrong, and maybe how they handle the enforcement bit. Now, this is where we feel like there has to be some harmony. Do note also that this is not something that has happened once. We have seen, even when it comes to other areas, when it comes to enforcement, things get a little bit hot in this city. So the question would be, how do we bridge that gap? How do we have harmony when it comes to the border riders, who are very many, by the way, in and out of town, and also the enforcers? The question, of course, would be, why don't they have everything they have to have? But the other question would be, how come sometimes they have these things, but they are still frustrated? So we are asking, what measures can be put in place to enable border riders and law enforcers work in harmony? We have to work in harmony because I am waking up every single morning as a border rider to go make life work for myself and my family. But also there is an enforcer out there that is supposed to make sure there is law and order first of all, but also there is safety for everyone in the country. And if you are a threat to someone's safety, definitely the law is going to come for you. So that's the question we are having. Please do join us on the X app. The question is already up there. Do leave your comment. But also you can text us on 0709-602592. Let us know what you think. How best can we live in harmony? I highly suggest that we try to be as objective as possible. If you are biased towards the border riders, extend some grace. If you are biased towards the enforcers, extend some grace. Let's have a leveled conversation, because that's the only way we're going to be able to achieve results if we should see harmony prevailing when it comes to how this country moves forward. So I'd like to start with you, Sonko. The question has been put forward: how do we live in harmony when it comes to the border riders and the enforcers?
Well, first I'll start from the point of being one of the most proud customers of the border industry. Because if you to look at the means of transport that I use so much would be the border industry. We have these ride-hailing apps and all that. But looking at this industry again, I love the fact that you've made it clear. You've made it very clear that we shouldn't, try to side. from any kind of situation. Now, from the enforcer's side and from the rider's side, when you look at the enforcers, first of all, the regulation part of it, to me, is good, is rightful, especially when you look at the licensing part of it, because we need to have licenses, though it is very difficult to license a means of transport which does not have a driving school or a riding school, because anyone can learn how to ride a boda from any place, and then you hit the road. Then when you look at the side of the borders, as for me, again, I've seen a couple of them have been, like I've said, when you sit on these borders, at times you have to remind them to always ride safely, or to maintain the flow of the the flow of movement, flow of traffic, flow of movement during, especially during those tight hours where they want to maneuver through very tight angles. So again, when you look at this kind of case scenario, it gives us the clear picture of how the border industry and the regulators, it just gives us the entire picture of what is happening on ground, not only in Kampala, but elsewhere where we have the enforcement of the border industry. And this at times makes us question whether the Ugandans understand, the use or proper use of the road. Because if we both understand, it will be very easy for the enforcers, and it will as well be very easy for the border riders, to go through these particular situations without us having this back and forth, or these particular wrangles that we keep on reporting each other day. And there are kind of situations where you realize the border industry has also led to continuous death cases and accidents.
So Sonko, having let's say looked at the side of the border riders, I'm going to be coming back to you a little bit later. I would like to hear from Chera, especially from the enforcers' side. How do we achieve harmony when it comes to the border riders and the enforcers?
Well, the challenge is we may not have enough time, and we just have to look on top of the situation. But it has quite a huge background as to why we've gotten where we are today.
Okay.
And that is where all the challenges we are seeing today arise from. But since you asked me on the side of the forces, I'll begin by saying too much of anything is bad.
Okay.
Even if it's sugar, even if it's medicine that you're given in the hospital, if they tell you take 3 tablets 3 times a day, and you're like, I must come to the show and work, and you take 6, we'll bury you. Now, these operations have lost meaning over a time. The border industry has become a daily bread for most of these enforcers. An example is the zeal and passion they put in. You people drive cars, and we know our police officers see the determination, the energy that they put in, and the way that a police officer would even risk their lives just to nab this motorcycle. Have you seen it? You're almost knocking this police officer.
But he wants to grab the motorcycle.
He wants to grab this motorcycle. We know our officers. If they stole something from you, do they use that passion to chase that thief?
Most probably not, unless there is a catch for them in
if there is anything. So, police itself must find, and I'm talking about the head, Afande Lawrence Niwabine. How do you streamline? How do you organize? At any junction, either KCCA or police officer can say, let me arrest a border that comes by. I'm not defending the fact that a rider must have all it takes to be on the road. But even those that have, as long as it's a motorcycle, you know, an ego snatching. The way they will wrap you up, you can even bump and knock someone. Then you're like, but what do you want? Here's my driving, my license. Here's my third party. I have a jacket. I have, hey, now you can go. but you've either rammed into somebody or something. I think this has now gone out of proportion. The enforcers, we know it's very hard to get someone on a motorcycle, but they must, the excess force being used and how it's being done. Just go at Ginger Road there and park, you know, when they're, or any junction, you'll wonder. They must devise a better way of doing this. But you see, look, you see, what is making that officer with that energy running as if you're chasing a thief?
Someone is
you get it? By just trying to get a motorcycle. As if he's carrying,
which is actually miles off where they're standing.
Yes, but that is still that because it has now lost. It has, and it has now become, if I arrest 30 motorcycles, take maybe 10 to police, the rest Chiguerao.
Yes, and this has been actually also evidenced by, you know, people coming out to speak. I've had an encounter with the same, and one particular, we know when you're using these, especially these ride-aiding companies, these people are supposed to be having everything that enables them to be on the road. But sometimes maybe they will forget or something like that. But then again, there's been cases where these riders have everything required of them. They have the helmet, they have the reflector jackets, they have the licenses, but then you will see this border rider trying to dodge where the traffic police is. And when you ask them, because personally I would not use a bike if I don't know that you have the following. So if you ask them, why are you dodging? Why are you riding like this? They will tell you, even if you have everything, you're still going to be grabbed and they will take money from you. Please do note that these border riders don't earn billions of shillings.
Yeah.
The little they are making is what is being taken. So they're trying to save that.
Let me just share briefly my personal experience. One time I was stopped and I had everything on my bike. Then God gave me the grace. I almost slapped this. Because then he said, but you don't have tires. I looked at this in Madoa, you know that blue word. Said, now you don't have tires. I told him, just told him, you know, if you want trouble, continue. So there is a way they have made it. It is good. We all need safety on our roads. We need people that have the reflector jackets and all that. And initially, just like you see, police can say, or for traffic police for motor vehicles, there is Fika Sarama for this period of time. Let's have this Fika Sarama. We shall clear a few then, again and again. But this is, it's losing meaning. It's becoming a daily bread for officers, you know. They must, and the excess force. Remember when you're riding, you're on 2 wheels. They are not 4 wheels. They're on 2 wheels. And a slight knock, you lose track. I've seen women carrying babies where an officer, some of them even hide because they want to nab them. In a panic, the lady falls, the baby falls. There's one at this Arena Mall. I had to park, it was very, that's the officer. Really, if you let that bike go and maybe get another one.
What would happen? What
would really happen? Look, the baby has fallen on the road. I almost rammed into this baby. The mother is the other side. Finally, the border guy has taken off. Now you're here, looking at this lady. How do we help? I think they must find better ways of how they can get these border motorcycles. But it's being so harsh, it is excessive force, and it's becoming a daily bread for officers.
Okay, so when we look at both parties that are involved in this case, the border riders and the enforcers, we do zero down to factors like there is need for better enforcement ways or methods that can be employed for us to be able to achieve some bit of results. But also, as earlier Sonko said, we also do have border riders that are rowdy and don't have what it takes, and then those that have what it takes. But how do we distinguish those, and how best do we make sure that, you know, this plays out in the favor of everyone for the sake of peace and harmony? I mean, as of yesterday, we did actually get a tweet from Uganda police saying, talking about the unlawful assembly and fatal accident incident in Kampala Central. It has been reported that a large group of unidentified border riders numbering over 100 unlawfully assembled and blocked off multiple roads including Jinja Road, Kampala Road, Yusuf Lule Road and Mukwano Road. Subsequently, they engaged in pelting stones towards traffic officers who were managing the junction near Jinja Road traffic lights. In response to this situation, the police swiftly intervened, resulting in the arrest of 3 individuals at the scene. 2 of the suspects, namely Komakech Stephen and Biamukama, are currently detained at Central Police Station Kampala, while the 3rd suspect is being held at Jinja Road Police on allegations of unlawful assembly, and this was according to Luke Owoye-Sijere, the Deputy Public Relations Officer for Kampala Metropolitan Police. Now, that is what happened yesterday. But when you assess, when you look at the video, when you look at these border riders as they are trying, to march forward, you realize that it is far-fetched. It's coming from somewhere. It's like they've been holding on to this for a really, really long time, and they seem to have been pushed to the wall. We have seen a number of activities that have been put in place to help these border riders. Around July 2022, we saw the mandatory registration that was put forward, and somewhere along the way we have forgotten that one. We also saw cases where they were going to demarcate areas, especially in town, where border riders were not supposed to reach. We have really seen a number of moves that have been put in place to regulate the border riders, but we have not seen moves being put in place to regulate the implementers or the enforcers of some of these laws that these border riders are supposed to be following. And takes me back to what we're discussing here. So in this case, having identified where the primary problem is, because we have the primary problem and then the secondary problem. And the truth is, you may not be able to regulate the border riders, especially in terms of how they behave, if you want to control their behavior. But then again, you can transform them, or you can put them in a place where they are able to follow the rules. And this is because, I say this because these are people that are very many. They outnumber our police body and our enforcers. That is one. 2, they are raised different. They have not gone through a certain training like you, an enforcer, you have gone through. So from that kind of understanding, I'm hoping that our enforcers can get to understand just that very simple, that very basic line that these are people that have not gone through the training you've gone through. So the question would be, what can be done now by the law enforcers? One, to keep the border riders in check, but also what can be done? Who governs these enforcers, and to whom do I report and actually get a solution as a border rider after I have had a challenge with an enforcer? Over to you, Sonko.
Well, before you even look at the enforcers and what needs to be done to to create that, at least a little bit of the regulation that will help the enforcers push through, we failed at the first point of how people get or acquire these borders.
Okay.
Just like when you're acquiring a vehicle or a car, maybe at times it's because if you don't have the money, you can't buy one. But then if you're on the road and you have the money, there are always signs that show that this particular person knows less about driving, or this person needs to first be checked whether they have a license or whether they have third party and all this. But now for the border industry, I did mention that a 12-year-old can actually hit the streets and start operating a border business in Kampala. So we've failed at how people get into the city. And I'm not even siding here with the law enforcers, but I will side with them for a moment. We have too many borders in the capital, and at times, most of them don't respect these road signs, and we can all agree. Because when you, for example, when you go at the Jinja Road, that junction, you can easily see where the biggest issue of our border industry lies. The traffic lights are showing stop on a side, for example, that is heading to town, and that is actually, moving out of town. But since they are borders, they feel that empty space should be used by them. And well, at times we, the customers, also tend to push them, you know, to go through. Now, starting from that point, with the hundreds of borders, because believe it or not, in Kampala now, at times there will be a lane which has more borders than the actual vehicles. And we have so many of those operating within town. And even when we look at the fact that they provide convenience, they help you out to reach your destination faster, to beat the traffic jam and all that. But there are too many, and at times it becomes very difficult to regulate. And that is why at times you see police officers running towards one border. At times because of, you know, we Ugandans at times go to these places of work with anger issues and everything. So most of these traffic officers, or some of these officers who are on the road or deployed on the road, are either having issues financially, and like Tirabo mentioned, they have actually turned the border industry into their source of daily bread, whereby they know if I get hold of this border rider, there is no way he's going to leave minus giving me a 5,000 or a 10,000 or even 20. So now, as we go back to the enforcement, how do we, you know, try to put these enforcers into a conversation of trying to understand that how you handle these border riders, you know, reflects on how, you know, they behave on the roads. When you look at these border riders, at times they also want, you know, a simple dialogue. Let's have a discussion. If I've stopped you, because like you mentioned, someone may have everything, but they still fear to pass.
They do,
you know,
actually, they do, because they've been extorted a number of times.
So now they fear passing next to a police officer or, you know, a traffic officer, name them. So it is because of the fact that during the discussions or during the dialogues they're having, the one-on-ones, it never ends on a good note. It is either the officer wants something in return. So it's better if we are to stop a border rider, tell them where they are wrong, and also, you know, try to create that conversation where it is a win-win for the both of you. You've stopped him and he has everything, wish him well, and also remind them that, you know, if you're riding, you know, be vigilant of this and this, you know, ride safely and all that. But at times, even if someone has everything, even for the vehicles, by the way, you get to realize that at times a driver may have the licenses, the third party in check, the you know, the side mirrors are all
intact,
it.
yes.
You know, even when you look at the tires, all new, someone will tell you your vehicle is dirty.
Is your radio functioning?
Exactly.
It has ever
so
happened,
you,
yes.
You look at all those things and you're like, now what does this, how does this even concern you as a traffic officer? So if we are to look at all this, at times we've actually created war between the enforcers and the riders, because of how we handle them, even when people are not guilty of any offense.
And that's the bad precedent that has been set by our law enforcers. But we are still discussing, we're still calling upon you to do share your opinion. So we are asking what measures can be put in place to enable border riders and law enforcers work in harmony. Please do check us out on the X app. We do have the poll question already up there. Leave a comment, let us know what you think. But also, please do share with us your opinion on our WhatsApp number 07096025592, and you'll be able to let us know. But please make sure that you leave a name when you are giving us your opinion and your comment, and also no phone calls. Thank you very much for understanding. Chirabo, we have zeroed down to all this information, but I'm still going to pose the same question to you. How best in this moment do we get the primary reasons that are causing this problem to be able to be handled and make sure we have harmony on the streets of Kampala? Like I said, you may not have control over the border riders. The way they ride, you may not have control. You can try and tame them through enforcing. And this is what has been put in place. But then again, the problem is the way we are enforcing is not enabling us to achieve results. So how best do we achieve results, especially with our enforcement? Because the truth is, enforcement is needed. We can't dispel the fact that these border riders really cause a lot of trouble on the road. So how do we enforce in the best ways possible?
Wow. Now, first, borders are very visible. But this problem is cross-cutting. Even many people that drive vehicles today, look at how they drive. What is the percentage of people who drive cars and have driving license? What is the percentage of people who drive cars and went through a driving school, not just got this permit or driving license? You get it? We have a bigger problem, but the challenges for the borders is more obvious and more visible. They're on two wheels. When someone just knocks on you, you stagger, you're into another car. And also sometimes the history, the group of these people we are discussing. Now, one, and very important, I've already said, enforcement without sensitization brings nothing but violence.
Enforcement without
Sensitization breeds nothing but violence.
Right.
Because this person is not understanding. You know, common sense is not common. And what is obvious is not obvious to everybody. This person is not understanding. Why am I told to wear this helmet? And our viewers, we've seen this often. You're sitting on a border. This person has a helmet in front of the motorcycle. So, when he senses there is police, he puts it on his head. But this is a man of 40, 35, and above maybe. But he doesn't. For it is simple. You think, I can easily. I've seen when they were telling passengers, at least have these helmets. I know of a certain company, they give 2 helmets to a rider.
Yes.
But they'll tell you, the passengers don't want to put on these helmets. Now, if a woman or a man like me or a young lad like Sonko, he's told, put on your helmet, this is something you can put on your head, he'll not. I've seen whites when they come here. Not saying that they are super intelligent people. If this person uses so much a border, have you noticed that they always carry their helmet with them?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
You know? Any office, whatever position, he'll have a helmet. He doesn't have a motorcycle. But they will, because they've been able to understand that this saves my life. So let's begin with sensitization. Second, let's come up with measures that help these young men get what is needed to be on the road. You talked about registration. These people paid money. They were even told, after this training, we are going to give you something as you process your permit. They were told so much lies that didn't happen. They were even at one time promised that the cost of a driving license or a riding license for a motorcycle is going to be reduced. I personally pointed to General Katumba Amala at the USPA we had in Lugogo, where he came and sports journalists, because there is a time we lost many in an accident. He said, now this has to go through the law, this and this and this and this. So, how do we devise means? Because let's understand, 90% of people who ride those border motorcycles don't own them, or they're owning them on hire purchase. At Chirabo, I have money, I go to a company, I get 10 motorcycles. Now each is at 5 million. I meet young boys. I tell them, I'm giving you this motorcycle. Within 2 years, you must give me 7 million. So they ride. So in the period of 2 years, you're supposed to have finished paying me, and this motorcycle becomes yours. Now, this young man you're seeing, every day, he has to get money for what to take home, and also pay border banja, and also pay this loan. I bought the motorcycle at 5 million, I want 7, I want 7.5. Now, the cost of a permit for a vehicle is the same as a motorcycle. When these young boys come up and say, this is a bit costly for us, you're finding a young man jobless, he has learned how to ride, and this is the life he's riding. Sometimes you see those young boys, he's riding. If he fails within that period of 2 years, or even skips a week, their agreement, this man has the right to repossess the motorcycle.
Right.
And no matter how much he has paid, he's not given what he has paid. So I repossess the motorcycle, I give it to somebody else. So they're riding under so much pressure. And they're simply saying, how do we devise means? That's why you find that many of them have reflector jackets. Many of them have helmets. Sad now to find out. Now the driving license bit of it, they're saying, how do you help us? And the worst being that the bad history we've had of all these attempts, we've gotten money from them, we failed to fulfill. KCA said, pay this amount, now we are having this. Now there was registration.
60,000 for
62
mental
for,
health
yeah,
checkup.
then registration, when they lined, and all of these things. Then even when there were stages, at the end of the day, it remains nothing. So we must understand, you see, when most of the times when technocrats sit to plan for people and they don't include them, you're planning for journalists. None of you has sat in a journalism school or works in any media house. But you're seated somewhere, you don't understand what they go through, you don't see how better you can plan for them. I see these mistakes being made over and over. Because say you're planning for traders, the markets, you sit the technical wing. You've never traded even tomatoes, but you're planning so.
But you're planning for the trader.
Because you don't understand this business. As a journalist, it took me time to ask these people, but this is your job. Why don't you get the qualifications? No, they take you through, Robert, this and this and this and this. So we must understand these people and see how best we help them. Because it's our lives that we are losing, it is their lives that we are losing. But simply saying, we shall enforce, we shall enforce. But can't I have so many sayings, Embazi tekolachi? Tewata. Yeah, man,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Robert. I'd like to check out what people are saying on our social media, but also on our WhatsApp. Please do note you can engage with us on our WhatsApp, but also do leave a name when you are contributing to this great nation. And as well, please do not make the phone call. Just send in your message. We are going to read it out. Now, I do have a comment from Lawrence from Moroto. He says it should also be one that traffic officers who are at the road to stop picking money from border riders, and that's that man died. Okay, the point is stop taking money from border riders on the road as traffic officers. This is what Lawrence from Moroto is saying. And then I also do have Evarist from Kampala says order in border business in Kampala city. Once again, we are not against putting order to border business in Kampala. We are saying, how do we have harmony between the enforcers and the border riders? That is the poor question, my dear. Having a routine and continuous checks on borders on roads should be supported. There is no need of having an equivalent of a Fika Salama for borders. It should be continuous. They should be following all vehicle traffic rules like done by other motorists, driving permit, third party, good mechanical condition, among others. Anyone not seeing the border crisis in Kampala city has a big problem. The only problem is lack of transparency in the operations by traffic police. And this is Everest from Kampala. Then Morning UBC, Seth from Rubaga. Former KCA Deputy Director Jennifer tried to put borders in Kampala in order, but was failed by greedy politicians and the police force. As long as we still have greedy politicians in Uganda, there is nothing you can do to borders. We only need prayers. That is according to Seth from Rubaga. Also, Obed from Kakowambara says, first of all, harmony will start when the law and policy formulators, there are worries brought in policies that purely do not help the riders. And for example, the reflector propaganda, which aims at ensuring that the car drivers see them easily such that accidents may reduce on the road. Did they sit with any border riders to analyze its validity? No. Yet the major cause of accidents between motorcycles and cars is just indiscipline with the drivers and the riders. There is a misconception with the car drivers that borders are not supposed to use the same lane with them. The poor attitude which tells the drivers that the public that all borders are stupid and always ignorant, just knocking them down on tendencies that the rider was in the wrong. Even the enforcers have not yet realized such, only because they also bear the same understanding. They only focus on grabbing money from these hustlers. No wonder. This is Obed from Barara. He's literally not amused with how the enforcement is being done in the country. Then this is Lubega Yusuf from Kawanda. The regulation of border failed because the cyclists refused to pay 60,000 for training by selected driving schools in Kampala, and also the project was politicized. On record, only 25% of the riders have permits. The best solution is to train border riders. That is Yusuf from Kawanda. Musisi had a plan to, this person did not leave a name, let's see if I can get that. This is Patrick. Patrick says, Musisi had a plan to organize city borders, but illiterate, selfish, corrupt political interests made it difficult. Let them now get it the hard way. Corrupt politics is behind the mess. What does the mayor say now? Well, I could also ask the same question, because clearly we've not had much coming from that side now. We also do have a comment from Wilbrod Biawashaija, who says, I have seen traffic enforcers running after vehicles, holding on to, trying to escape taxi drivers' doors here in Kampala, meaning that we don't have yet professional traffic basic principle. In this era of cameras installed in the city, not to mention smartphones where you can capture a photo of a disobedient offender, unprofessional corruption is dangerous. Also, I don't know which unprofessional corruption we're talking about, but unprofessionalism and corruption, I think that's what the person meant, is those are dangerous tools. We need a regulatory body, possibly IGG, to have city cameras, photos downloaded and analyzed with a view of holding these accountable. This is World Board Biabashija. I like the fact that we have, our minds are giving us different solutions. And you realize that Ugandans see these things. They've gone down, when you go through all these comments, they go down to the core of where the problem is coming from. And then I also do have Karunji from Mukono. I find it hard to believe that the rider had no license, especially given that he was a safe border rider. Among the requirements before safe border gives them their helmets and reflector jackets, it's always the license. So who is lying? Could it be that something else was taking place? Also, the chasing, given our roads and previous fatal incidents, was it or is it still necessary? Now, please do note that there was a point traffic officers were stopped from running after any person that offends on the road. So if you stop a car and they refuse, do not chase that car. If you stop a rider and they refuse, do not chase this car. But also, we do still have some more comments. Good morning, this is Chizito from Marua. It's like the country is heading to the end. At least let these people leave the border guys alone. Sometimes they are on the road while the motorcycle is not yours, just working for little money and a lot of charges. I do have a lot of comments that have been coming through. And this gentleman says, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In the building, thanks for the show. I'm Agonzewa Abel, Lord Mayor from Wundibujo. The fact is, deployed traffic officers are not after the law; they are after money because many of the accidents caused. Traffic officers are the root causes. How can you run after a border rider who has already passed your road? Your roadblock or checkpoint? Government should continue training their traffic officers on what they are supposed to do. However, much border riders are many border riders misbehave on the road. And remember, some of the riders are not owning the motorcycles, the border banja. They have to hustle. At the end of the day, they get money to eat home. Now, if you pick money from border riders, what do you expect them to take home at the end of the day? Government should continue sensitizing border riders on what they are supposed to do. Border riders are hustlers, so don't torture and traumatize them through soliciting money from them over fake cases. How can you stop the bike because the tire was worn off? So much more is being... there's a lot of comments that are coming in. The unfortunate bit is that our time seems to be fast spent. So one minute and we get to close this conversation. Your parting shots, Cheravo.
we need to regulate the border industry. For the border people, when you have all it takes, one, it's for your safety. It's for your safety when you have all it takes. Two, the enforcers. Let's enforce. Let's look at this as our noble cause if it's enforcement. Let's not look at these border riders as a business. They are very good traffic officers. They are very good men in uniform. I've seen some who have stopped others and they simply say, please go and get this. But then there are those that have made it a habit. Finally, I was looking through police statistics and most of the causes of accidents in Uganda, and it is reckless driving. And Pony driver had a license. Or these buses we see, they have licenses. But it is that indiscipline within us. Let's be disciplined road users.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sonko.
Well, mine is to the border riders first. Let's just do the right things first. Let us be the leading example. The only example I can use today is the reflector jackets. There was a tweet I saw somewhere where border rider was just wearing stripes of reflectors, doing an X sort of. And then the tweet actually said, is this like the lingerie of reflectors? When you come to think of it. So I'm like, well, it seems some of them just do it to please the officers. So let's get the reflectors, let's get the helmets, and let's also make sure that our borders are in the right conditions to hit the roads. And let's also be very vigilant with the road signs and also try to follow what the officers are giving in regards to the directions on the road. That way, we shall be taking a step in the right direction as we also look at now what the enforcers will have to blame us for. But first, let the border riders work on themselves first.
All right, thank you so much for being part of the conversation. Thank you for your comments. Unfortunately, I couldn't go through all of them. Alex, Ian, Austino, thank you very much for your comments. But unfortunately, our time is fast spent. So the conversation is on social media. You can let us know what you think on the X app. For now, we are going to be going for a short break. When we come back, we are going to be taking a look at what is happening in the world of business, but also giving you the traffic updates to make sure that if you're choosing one of those routes, you might want to rethink or actually go ahead and use those routes. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Uncle, you should see London.
Oh, my boy. This has been 5 years. You should see Uganda. Yes.
Uncle Marcus, this is my former school.
See, soon there will be more than 1 million children learning like this for free.
This is impressive. Do you even have connection out here?
Well, we have 100% 4G countrywide.
Okay.
We even have 5G too.
That's approximately 700 billion Uganda shillings in tax, making Airtel one of the largest corporate income taxpayers over the last 5 years, helping build a better Uganda.
Today, your son saw our new Uganda.
Thank you, Uganda, for imagining it with us and making us the fastest growing telecom in the country over the past 5 years.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, I do have some business updates for you this morning, as well as a look at the press review within the country and across the borders. But of course, now the GMU business update kicks off fast, and the cat petition is something that we start with in the country. So the cat farmers have, under the umbrella body, Kabarole Cat Mairungi Growers Association, petitioned the Office of the President over the narcotic substance that was the narcotic substance bill that was passed by Parliament. Remember when Parliament had discussions and they passed this particular one, which is also waiting for the President to assent, is where most of the cat farmers were saying it is rather unfavorable to them and ideally disadvantageous when you come to look at things, because in one way or the other it is a very profitable sort of business for those who are engaging in it directly and those who are engaging it indirectly. But the farmers did come out to say they are definitely being surprised by the fact that members of Parliament or the legislators would choose to also directly hit at them through a bill that will affect their business. Now, in their petition handed over to the Kabarole District RDC, that is Mr. Bandeba Festus, the farmers want government to remove cat from the list of narcotic substances and institute a committee of researchers to investigate Mairungi before the bill is signed into law. So I would as well agree with these ones if you come at a look of how events have actually been transpiring from the start of the year, when the discussions were out there in regards to how the narcotics and substance control bill will be implemented, or if at all it is passed into law, how it will affect quite a number of these particular cat farmers. So under the umbrella body, for those in Kabarole, they believe government should first of all create a committee which should scrutinize and as well try to do investigations on the Mairungi consumers as well as the Mairungi exporters, the farmers themselves, to see whether it is right to regulate it the way it was placed into this particular bill. Well, we shall wait to see whether the government will reconsider, or whether members of Parliament will reconsider before this is passed. Now let's cross borders to Kenya. President William Ruto is marking 1 year of presidential rule ever since he replaced that is Uhuru Kenyatta. Now in Kenya, there is some huge report regarding the fact that mobile money payments have grown by 6.3%. This is figures that were reported by the end of July. Now, the mobile money payments grew by 6.3% with expectations of the wider growth in the coming month after the Central Bank of Kenya, that is the CBK, approved higher transaction limits. On the CBK data shows mobile payments hit $4.7 billion during the month, up from the $4.4 billion in June. It was the highest value of monthly mobile transactions since December of last year, which was at around 4.84 billion. So moving forward, this was supported by a rise in mobile money accounts, which grew to 77.21 million in July from 76.99 million in the previous month, while active agents increased as well. So for those who have actually been to Kenya, or for those who are actually in Kenya, you will as well realize that most of the people feel more secure using the M-Pesa and Airtel money as a means of transaction to pay for bills as well as order for a good or a service. So it's of the minimal cases where most of them feel secure to use, cash. And here in Uganda, on the other hand, some people do use mobile money, especially businesses, but then others feel more secure handling hard cash. But for in Kenya, the figures are definitely showing how most of the users prefer using mobile money. Because when you look at it, last month, the central bank allowed Safaricom and Airtel to increase the daily mobile money transaction limit from 150,000 Kenyan shillings, that is approximately $1,025 to 1,708 US dollars. It also allowed them to increase their mobile money wallet size to $2,000 from $2,000 to 3,416 US dollars. So these are all contributors to the rise of mobile money payments or usage in Kenya. That is for those who are paying for a service, for those who are buying a commodity, and those who are actually sending money to relatives and family. The usage in Uganda in mobile money here has only been limited to one thing, which is security details. Because when you look at most of the Ugandans who are scared of using mobile money, the scammers, the online fraudsters are quite many in the country, which is affecting the mobile money usage. But its uptake is also strongly growing. And when you look back to the COVID-19 from 2020 to 2021, those 2 years were greatly a big lifter of mobile money usage in the country. So we shall wait and see how Ugandans will be taking up mobile money usage, as most of the African countries are also pushing for a cashless economy as the new era or a new trend to the new world order takes center stage. But now, as we are summing up with the GMU business update this morning, we now look at the forex market to see how different currencies were trending on the different forex in the country. Now, the US dollar was opening at 3,715.17 shillings. That is, if you were buying. Then selling was at 3,725.17. Then by midday, it was at 3,715.13, and then selling at 3,725.13. It did close yesterday at 3,715.92. Buying, while it was selling at 3,725.92. Now, the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,650.10 shillings and selling at 4,626.61 shillings. Then the euros was buying at 3,990.15 while selling at 4,000.89 shillings. Then the Kenyan shillings at 25.37 shillings while selling at 25.44 shillings. The Tanzanian shillings was buying at 1.48 shillings while selling at 1.49 shillings. Then the South African rand was buying at 196.38 shillings while selling at 196.91 shillings. Back to our press review this morning. We take a look back at what the New Vision and the Daily Monitor is having at their front pages before we also look at what the Daily Nation and the Citizen in Tanzania is reporting. Now, with the New Vision, the bigger headline is the fresh details emerging in Cooperative's cash saga. Ministers, members of parliament wanted over 150 billion shillings scandal. More of that is in the New Vision today. Then the pictorial of President Museveni and the Chinese investors as a special cement factory was launched in Karamoja. This is looking at creating more job opportunities for Ugandans. Now, a killer of Dr. Chirabo arrested. That is in the New Vision today. Then over 10,000 missing in Libya floods. As the coronation anniversary of King Oyo, he outlines a 25-year plan. There are more of the details of the celebrations in the New Vision today. Then fast forward to the Daily Monitor. New cement factory opened in Karamoja. Details of that. President Museveni says that the new factory will save Ugandans 1.4 trillion shillings annually and create additional 1,000 jobs. Then homes, sexism and the city, how urban planning has failed women. That is with the Daily Monitor today. FDC members plot to kick out Mafabi and Amuriat as UNESCO removes Kasubi tubes from heritage sites in danger. Then borders riot over death of colleague. Then elsewhere, US companies stop Uganda imports over anti-gay law. as how Uganda reduced death of pregnant women. There's a special report of that with the Daily Monitor today. We now cross borders to Kenya. The Daily Nation. What's up? Raila holds crisis meeting as he's looking forward to meet up with the president. Now also, Ruto at 1. It's a bag of mixed fortunes for Kenya's Kwanzaa as it marks 1 year in office. The Daily Nation gives you more details today. Now, in vetting, I'm coming with a broom to sweep up CBK, says nominee. There's more of that in the Daily Nation. Then how the United States sex pest wife took donors for a ride. You can get more of that in the Daily Nation. Then address our concerns or we go on strike. The doctors in Kenya are warning the government. Then the Citizen newspaper in Kenya, the front pages, booming business of fake body enhancers. There's a detail of that. I think here in Uganda, that is also another business to look at. The Citizen also shows Nectar issues warning against PSLE fraud. Still the Citizen in Tanzania, national environment, how to increase use of alternative charcoal. More of that is in here. Now, 3 democracy bills set for parliament. The Citizen in Tanzania gives you more, as $150 million set to upgrade Tanzania's land tenure security. That is what the Citizen is highlighting today. Now, well, that is it for what is making headlines at the front pages of the dailies in Uganda. One in Kenya, the Daily Nation, and the other is the Citizen newspaper in Tanzania. Now we are off to the traffic updates with Chantal Olive Akandenda.
Thank you so much, Jerome, for the updates in the press review. Now, at this moment, I am standing at what you usually call the Spear Junction, Spear Motors Junction, that is in Nakawa, and I am trying to make my way to town with you who could be on the road or just want to use that road. I'll be taking you through what is happening. If you want to go the other side, that is a Kampala Jinja Highway, you are headed for some really good traffic, so please do keep that in mind. But if you want to use the Nakawa Jinja Road that takes you to Chinawataka, traffic is a little bit okay until you actually get to the junction that takes you to the Chinawataka. Still, you seem to be safe if you want to take that route. And if you're coming from the Ntinda Kamocha stage, there's a bit of a hold up, and this is especially because of this very junction. But I want to take you to town, so move with me, because as you can see, the traffic is there is traffic, and but it's moving. It's, you know, it's not the traffic that is going to hold you for long. You are going to be able to move, and when we come all the way downwards, I'm on the Kampala Jinja Highway right now, and I am trying to make my way to town. Now, when I get to the junction that comes from Katalima Road, there is a bit of jam right there, so please do be mindful. And this continues. This is too much jam. This is when you are going through Nakawa, and I'm looking at going all the way downwards. You are headed for so much jam, and areas of the Nakawa Business Park as well have a lot of jam, so brace yourself if you are using. Now, this is two-way jam. If you are coming from town but also going to town, the jam is really much. You might want to rethink using that route in case you wanted to take that direction. All the way when you get to the junction that has UAP Old Mutual, you also find a lot of jam. Total Energies Nakawa, there is a bit of a hold up, but after that you will be headed for a smooth flow. I am now on the Kampala Jinja Highway, all the way to the Nakawa traffic lights, and when I get to the Nakawa traffic lights, there seems to be smooth flow, and you'll be able to move as fast as you can. The Lugogo taxi stand is also safe for you to move all the way until you get to the Chadondo Lugogo traffic lights. There's just a little bit of a hold up, but after that, If you are crossing over to Lugogo bypass, you are safe to move. But if you are continuing with me to town, please do follow through, because we are going all the way, and you seem to be safe to move all the way. I am still on the Kampala Jinja Highway. You are safe to move. When it comes to Aka Road, there is a bit of a hold up, but that is really easy for you to maneuver through. Still on the Kampala Jinja Highway, traffic seems to be moving. You actually won't find traffic. You'll be able to drive or ride through really fast. If you want to join Fast Street, you are headed for a bit of jam, and this is probably caused by this very junction. So please do be mindful. But I'm staying on the Kampala Jinja Highway all the way up to the Airtel tower. That is still on the Kampala Jinja Highway, and there's just a bit of a hold up, and this is usually caused by this roundabout. This is the roundabout that you're going to find that takes you to the New Vision stage, and this is where you will be deciding where you want to go to. But I'm continuing to town, and after that there is a bit of a hold up. If you are going to Wampeo Avenue, because of the roundabout, it gets a little bit tight, but loosens as you move all the way into Wampeo Avenue. I am coming to town, so right now I'm still on Ginger. I'm now on Ginger Road, and there is from the roundabout up to the Ginger Road junction. That main junction, there is a bit of a hold up traffic. There is traffic, though it's moving not as slow as you would imagine, but you are headed for a bit of traffic on there until you reach the junction. So depending on where you want to go, if you are headed the side of Yusuf Lule Road or the side of Centenary Park, there is a bit of a hold up, and there is jam, but seems to be smooth. If you're using Access Road really has some good jam. So think through before you decide. Of course, if you are going to the roundabout that has Mukwano Road, you are headed for quite a bit of some jam, unless otherwise. But if I'm to try and proceed to town, there is some good jam that you will be sitting in on Ginger Road until you reach Total Energies, that is Ginger Road station. All through past Nema House, you are safe to move, but after that, when you are approaching Victoria University, because of the junction as well, there is a bit of a hold up. Well, I can only take you up to at least that point. From there, you will find no jam on Kampala Road, so you are safe to move into town. And that is what we have for the traffic updates. If you are using that road, now you know which road to use if you should actually use it. For now, let's get into a very short break. Coming up is Robert Chirabo with Good Morning Uganda agenda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Toro Kingdom will host the 28th Empango celebrations of His Majesty Omukama Oyonyimba Kabamba Iguru Rukidi IV on 12th September 2023 at Karuzika Royal Palace, Fort Portal Tourism City. Theme of this year's Empango is protecting our environment, traditions, and cultural heritage. Be part of Toro, her history and legacy.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Nubanyita kananye niyita Sez Nwagaba commercial officer Ntungamo district government.
I am Sez Nwagaba, the commercial officer for Ntungamo local government. I express my gratitude to God for this platform and the Emyuga initiative brought to us by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, as it has positively transformed the lives of the people in Ntungamo, whom I have known for a long time. When you visit the beneficiaries of this program, you can easily witness the significant positive changes in their lives. The audit report demonstrates that despite their leader being deaf and blind, profits are being made, highlighting how this program has actively engaged and evolved every individual. Initially, we received 2,650 million Uganda shillings. Each constituency received 530 million Uganda shillings. I would like to express my gratitude to this platform for providing us with the opportunity to share information about the Emyuga program. Our special thanks go to the President for initiating the program, and additionally, I would like to mention that there are numerous similar projects in Rubare and Ntungamo.
Good morning and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, usually we have a guest in studios and we look at issues of national concern. This lovely Wednesday morning, we want to look at how best can we address the youth and women question. What is government doing? And most of the times when we talk about empowering, such programs directly fall under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. We know there are a number of initiatives that we've heard of. We've heard of GLOW. I don't know if you heard of GLOW, but well, you'll get to know of that. We've heard of that is the Youth Livelihood Program. We've heard of the Women Empowerment Program. So many programs. Now, joining me on set this lovely morning, I have Joshua Chalimpa, who happens to be the head of communication and advocacy, UWEP and MLP under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Today we see many youth unemployed. We see some, when you ask them, how do you wake up in the morning? Until late in the evening and following someone, sijui presidential, or I can't. How? And you do this for you, that tells you, now we don't have what to do. I've never seen this person. And some, while they're engaging in activities like terrorism and all this, they simply tell you, we are not employed, we don't have what to do, so anything that comes by, we go by it. Yet government, we are told, or we have seen, that there are a number of initiatives aimed at solving such problems. Joshua, you're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers, and I want to thank UBC TV for giving me this opportunity to come here to speak to the nation. Yeah.
Now, you've come here to answer a very big question, which is, what is government doing? To be more specific, the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development to address the youth and women question when it comes to unemployment.
Of course, somebody there may be asking why you're asking this to the Minister of Gender. It is within the mandate of the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development to address issues of youth, to address issues of women, and to address labor issues in the country. So what you are talking about, the problems grappling this country, well falls within the mandate of Minister of Gender. And Minister of Gender has done something about it. The Minister of Gender has different programs within the ministry. We have the Youth Livelihood Program. You talked about the issue of youth unemployment. First of all, we know that the demographics of this country show that the majority of the population are youth. They fall within slightly above 70% of this country are youth. And for you to be able to solve the problem of poverty, you must be in position to address that question, the question of youth. The government of Uganda, through the budget, has allocated funds for the purpose of supporting youth under the Youth Livelihood Program. But we know that since it's the mandate of the Minister of Gender to address these issues, we have done advocacy around this issue, so much so that even the programs which are without the Ministry of Gender address these issues. For example, you know that under the parish development model, there is an allocation specifically for youth. There is also an allocation for women. That is on top of what the Ministry of Gender within her mandate is doing. We also know that the Ministry of Gender under the other sister program, which is the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program that you talked about, also addresses issues of youth, because access to these programs begins from the age of 18. It means that all youth that we are talking about can access the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program. And in the budget allocation for the budget that is running, we got a budget allocation of 27 billion, which is now being given out to the youth and women across the country for purposes of starting enterprises of their choice. And we are getting success stories across the country. Of course, we have to deal with the issue of mindset change. You rightly said that there are a number of youth who go on moving from one place to place, talking about different issues. You go to a trading center, you'll find youth playing cards, playing Ludo. We are not saying that such activities are bad. We are only saying that there is time for everything. Even that's what the scriptures say. There is time for everything. So if
and
it's
the same
time,
scriptures also talk about an idle mind being a devil's workshop.
yes. So the issue is that once it's time for work, the youth should understand that they should work. It is their youth that will contribute to a better time, better future when they grow up. So the ministry, of course, is also addressing the issue of mindset change. We do a lot of publicity. We go out to the media, and I'm happy that you've invited me here so I can take this opportunity to talk the issue of mindset change among the youth. Many people who are successful today will talk of the effort that they made when they were young, and when you grow up, it is those efforts that bear fruits. Whether it's wealth, it is very difficult for you to just wake up and think that you can make ends meet. We have seen, I've had the opportunity to move across the country to talk to the youth. I've seen very successful young people. I went to recently, I went to Nakaseke and met a group of youth who are growing pineapples. They got funding from UWEB, they got funding from YRP, and were able to start an enterprise of growing pineapples. They have been able to pay back the money. Their enterprise is flourishing, and you could see that they are very different from other youth in the trading sectors around.
Now, sorry to cut you short, Joshua. Maybe help us know the various programs that government under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development are available to address the youth and women question. Then we can try and dissect, if time allows, each, and also address some of the myth or some of the concerns or misconceptions that are coming out regarding these programs. You talked of mindset change, but we even have those that never attempt because of so much they have had. They're like, these are not real things. When you talk about 27 billion, Jesus Christ, that has been in the budget to transform. And we still see youth in all these. One asks, where is that money? So let's look at these specific programs and requirements, then see the successes and the challenges.
Thank you very much, Bwana Chirabo. There are a number of programs within the ministry. I already talked about the Youth Livelihood Program.
Yes.
I also talked about the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program. We also run the Youth Venture Capital, which is run in partnership with Centenary Bank. The youth, in the difference between these other programs and the Youth Venture Capital, for example, is that the other programs, you access them as a group. And according to the program guidelines, you have to form a group of between from 5 people onwards, up to around 10. Now, once you form a group of like minds, you can then access the program and you are able to undertake an enterprise of their choice. The entry point is the district level, because in the district we are using the local government structures, whereby at the sub-county there is a community development officer. The community development officer will avail those intending applicants with forms, and the forms, once they are filled, are submitted to the district, and they end up with the Ministry of Gender, where the final decision of giving out money is. Now, the Youth Venture Capital, for example, its modality is quite different, because then you can access funding as an individual. You just need to be backed by somebody so that you can get the funding for an enterprise of your choice. We have other programs, for example, of skilling the youth with the Juakali program, which within the Ministry of Gender, whereby here the youth can be given the tools that they need to undertake their enterprises. For example, if you're doing carpentry, it is possible that you can get the tools that you need as a carpenter. If you're a cobra, you want to make shoes, you are in position to get the tools that you need to make the shoes or bags to work on your leather. So we understand that it is those tools that will make our products competitive in the market. We are in a global village, so the youth making products, either in Mayuge, either in Katwe, have to compete with Chinese products. And the Chinese products, to the eyes of the people, may think that they look nice. So we have to provide the tools for these youth to be able to produce competitive products that can compete with the Chinese. For example, we know that most of the Uganda products are known to be very strong products compared to other products. Where we have a problem is in the workmanship, the finishing of the product. And the ministry is addressing that such that our products can be competitive. There are other programs that are rolling out. The ministry recently launched the GROW program, which is the growing opportunities for women. Although we are using the word women, but young women are also part of it. You know, the issue about being called a woman in Uganda is that the general knowledge of people, especially in the villages, that once you produce, you're a woman. But we have girls who are produced when they are 17, even 15, even 19. So once people hear the name woman, the word woman, they may think we are talking about old people. But the youth are part and parcel of these programs, and in fact, are the majority beneficiaries, given that the demographics of this country show that most of the people fall within that category of young people. So yes, the ministry has a number of programs, and all these are targeted at addressing the issue of youth and women, knowing that they are the majority in this country. We only hope and pray that funds continue to flow from within the central government, because you know the process of allocating a budget starts from, it's a different stage, but yes. The money that we give is thanks to the budget of this country. So there is appropriation within the budget, and once Ministry of Finance has allocated the funds, our duty is to ensure that these funds reach the intended beneficiaries. There I can attest that the funds are reaching the masses.
Now, Joshua, one of the issues that many of these programs are facing, one is public perception. I have followed a number of these programs, talked to a number of youth, and I will tell you, those things are not there. Some believe those things are not there. When you talk about 27 billion allocated for a particular program, then others believe we are not the ones. Then many will tell you the bureaucracy involved. Say, okay, we've gathered. Do you know how we can get that money, Chirabo? For us, I have no problem. You help us. You know, they believe there is so much. Over a time, government initiatives aimed at empowering women and the youth, I've heard that people either have lost confidence or don't believe that this is too good but also true. So how do we first address that perception? You tell youth, a youth group, you people, make 10. You know there is money from youth livelihood. You tell a young man, but for you, you have what it takes to go and get the youth capital venture money. See our government, meaning those things are never there. So how do we first handle that?
Of course, in terms of policy, we operate within a policy environment. The policy environment we are operating in is one which is polluted with politics. Sometimes people may interpret or misinterpret government programs depending on where they stand, the political line they take. Of course, the ministry does not give support based on people's political inclining. Recently, I was in Masaka in company of the National Program Coordinator of the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program and YRP. You know, Masaka is a fully, majority councillors in Masaka belong to the to NUP, National Inter-Platform. There are, of course, some NRM councillors, but we were able to address them. The good news is that now people understand that this is a problem of the country, whether you belong to the opposition or you belong to NRM, people know, especially the politicians, and we are targeting them. We meet the councillors, we meet the members of parliament. I have interacted with members of parliament from the opposition, and what we have to do as a ministry is to have a buy-in from all the stakeholders, irrespective of their political inclining. And the message is sinking. And we also make sure that when we are giving out the money, we give anybody who qualifies, irrespective of your political inclining. And once we have a buy-in from all the stakeholders, the politicians, the members of parliament, I think the sky will be the limit, and the message is sinking.
Now let's also to look at preparation for these groups. Many a times we've had issues regarding ability to pay back, and we've seen newspaper headlines, such amount government fails to recover, Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development fails to recover. It seems even those that get this money either don't put it to proper use, or they're failing to pay back. A big percentage or a certain percentage fails to pay back this money. Yet we are told that this is a revolving fund, that when government gives me money through a program, gives us money as a group, we use that money, refund the money for another group, so that it revolves, and over a time, maybe an entire parish or an entire constituency will have benefited. Now, when a group receives, they misuse, they take off, that is done and dusted. Then government again brings another set of money.
Yes, I want to acknowledge that there are challenges. These challenges, though, are not restricted to UWEP or YRP. It is a general problem. Even within the traditional banks, you have a challenge of non-performing loans. People get the loans, but the culture of paying is not embedded in our DNA. Whether young people or women or older people, there is a problem. And this is a problem we have to deal with. That notwithstanding, there are some very good young people who have taken advantage of this. They are able to fight the poverty. They are able to start flourishing businesses. And these very good young people cannot be sacrificed on account of other people who may not be doing their part of the bargain. I want to say that around last year, the cabinet allowed the Ministry of Gender to revolve funds that have been recovered. So the money I'm talking of is money which was either allocated to the Ministry of Gender, was given to the youth and women, and the recoveries thereof is what is being revolved. So whereas we should have accepted, we should have received 100% of recoveries, which we did not realize, we were able to realize some money, part of which is being revolved now. So that is enough example to say that some youth and women are doing quite well, and we need to support them. But of course, I say that the ministry mandate is to ensure that we empower the youth and women. And the empowerment also includes helping them to understand that once you get a loan, you have to pay back. So it's a learning process. We are talking to the youth, we address them, and the message is sinking. We hope that the future is brighter because the message is sinking.
Okay. Now, our viewers, you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply using the number on your screen, or go to our X app. We'll still be reading those messages, and my guest in studios will be responding to this. Joshua Chalimpa, who is the head of communication and advocacy, Uganda Women Empowerment Program and the Youth Livelihood Program under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. These are programs now, the new one being GLOW. And this is also targeting women, you know, so that government, such programs can empower you to be able to have some earning or to improve your business. Either you gather in a group, then of course you get this money, but remember, it's a process. It's a process, and there need to be some preparation. Just hit that, send me a WhatsApp message or a text number, and we'll be moving on. Now, Joshua, we've also had issues of sometimes people spending the little they have to be able to access these programs. Sometimes registering circles, registering all those little bit of bureaucracy that are necessary. Then at the end of the day, money never gets to them. That is one bit of demoralization. But also we've had reports of the would-be beneficiaries that initially at conception of the concept that let's have youth capital venture,
youth venture capital,
or let's have a youth livelihood, the people government was targeting, you end up finding the Chirabo, Ratoro, the morning presenters of GMU registering and getting this money. Now, the young boys in Buikwe, who would be, or within this committee, who was, so we don't, this money doesn't go to the targeted people. At the end of the day, you produce accountability that you had 27 billion given to this number of groups, and you expect to see a transformation. Now, we go to scriptures. He who has, more will be added to him. He who has, who doesn't have, even the little will be taken away from him. So we end up at this, that government injects so much money, but it's not in tandem with improving the livelihoods of the people.
Oh, of course, I have had that. Implementation of programs like YRP or UWEP or Youth Venture Capital is a lesson. We are learning. Along the way, as we implement the program, some lessons have come to bear. One of them is that we have learned that groups which were found to be in existence perform much better than groups that have been formed for purposes of receiving money. The groups that normally form because they have heard that there is YRP or there is UWEP tend to disintegrate along the way once the money comes in. So because of that, although we have not amended the guidelines, the people at the district level, which is the entry point, have a tendency of working with those who have at least started. Because one, they have a saving culture, they are able to save, and they are cohesive groups because they have worked together as groups. Now, because of that, we also use inclusivity because we work with those who have been at it, but we ask them also to bring on board others who are at the beginning of the ladder. So that's what I believe can work, and please bear with us, but the implementation of all programs have to look at safeguards, because you're talking about people not being to pay. And this is a problem which is live, which is apparent. How do you deal with it? You learn that some people, once you give them money and they did not have experience, there are some people who have never held $1 million shillings in their life. They are poor, but once you give them the 1 million shillings or 12.5 million, as in the case of YRP, you find that you've brought already problems. I was reading a story of one family, now this is not related to YRP or UWEP, of where a woman brought 1 million shillings home. The husband, a drunkard husband, came back and demanded for the money, and the woman refused, and the man hacked the wife to death. I hope you have also heard of the same story. This is what we are talking about, that holding money is also an experience which you have to grow with. And some people have even been asking us that, especially those who have held big money, that but your maximum you are giving in most cases is 12.5 million. This is very little money.
What can it do?
What can it do? But there are stories of people who have never held $1 million shillings. And once they see 12.5 million, it's like manna which has come from heaven.
But then let's look at preparation. How do you prepare these groups? Because if someone is well prepared, they know this is not money thanking them for voting a particular candidate. This is money that's supposed to be taken back. And they went through a vigorous training. They would put this money to use. But sometimes I see sentences, there's a panic. Do you do enough preparation for these groups that are going to be given this money?
Of course, one of the conditions for access to Youth Livelihood Program or the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, or even GROW that is coming on board, is training. We give entry training, one, to give the basics. So, for example, you have to keep records. Some people are not used, to bookkeeping. When you are selling your bananas, you just sell, they give you money. You are not under obligation to write anywhere that you sold 10 bananas and you got this much. This is a culture which is not within us, and this is what we are trying to give. So we also give them trainings about group dynamics, because being in groups is also not very common. Where I come from, there is a saying that kange kachiraka ife. Mine is better than ours. So you find that some people prefer to work alone. But now here is a policy which is saying that you have to work with about 5 people or even more. We give them trainings about group dynamics. How do you work together as a group? So this training is a precondition of access to funding. Of course, one will argue that 1 or 2 days of training is not enough. But to conduct such trainings, you need a lot of money. And we are under instructions from government that we only spend part of the money and the rest should go towards giving the beneficiaries. For example, if you get 100 million, the ministry is only supposed to retain 20% of the money, and the 80% is supposed to go for the women and youth to undertake their enterprises. So the question is, is the 20% enough to undertake all the activities that are required to prepare these people? Maybe if you had asked me that question, I would say that that percentage should be raised. But that is a wish. What is in the guidelines is that we have to use only 20%. And I can say that with the 20%, we are able to do so much. We are training the youth and women so that when they get the money, they know what to do. We are also, in my docket, I handle partnerships. We are working with other partners
to train,
to come on board. We've worked with UN Women. Their interest was with women. So to train, to give specialized trainings for the women. We are also in talks with other partners, including GIZ and others, to come and supplement.
Well, Joshua, let me just give you some of the messages I see, so that now, very interesting. Good morning. I don't know how the government can help me. I'm 26 years and hustling on my own, still failing to raise capital to pursue my career. He's a chef. I had settled in my mind that I'm on my own, but your program seems to show me that I might be missing out on something. Watching from Chitende. Thank you so much for watching. Then hello, thanks for the program. This is Mike from Namongona. I feel pity, I think that's what he wanted to say, for Joshua to lie people on television. Very many youth are surviving through thick and thin, more especially in Kampala. And why don't you mobilize them in order to curb off some of the crime through such programs? Or you do it to your own youth. I also need it, Joshua, Can you contact me? So that I may also benefit from such programs. Good morning. I am Wabusa Pius from Lila. The leaders should be honest and faithful such that all the beneficiaries can benefit. We should strive for wealth with integrity. Thank you so much for the program. And please, I need to know the steps taken before money is handed to an individual or a group. And finally, for now, hello, good morning. I'm Hanifa from Chisasi. But the only challenge with government program is maybe long processes involved. Can you imagine that this is the second year running after PDM money? We have lost morals. In general, we are very frustrated. Let's go with those.
Thank you very much. I understand the frustration, like for my brother in Namungona. He says that he would have loved to get the money. I think what you can do from Namungona is one, to go to your next local government. At the local government, there is an officer called the Community Development Officer. The Community Development Officer will give you an expression of interest form, which you will be able to fill in. But like I said, the guidelines are that we operate as groups. So it means that you alone may not be in position to access the money as an individual. However, you have to mobilize other people, other like minds, especially somebody talked about that you want to do, you're a chef, you want to do catering business, you have to get other people interested. They don't have to be at the same level like you, because we assume that you have the capacity to train others such that they join you in the business. Once that is done and the expression of interest is made, submitted to your district, the money for Namungona, that is Wakiso, I think, the money will be approved at the level of the district, and then at the Ministry of Gender will do the disbursement of money. So I understand there is a lot of demand for the services of YRP and UEP and the Ministry of Gender in general, but the demand is higher than what we are able to supply, because I say that the allocation comes right from the Ministry of Finance, and we can only give what we have. So for what we have, I can guarantee that for those who have applied, we'll be able to get. After all, the money actually is decentralized, because in a way that we revolve back to a local government what has been recovered in that local government. It means that if we gave Wakiso 1 billion and they were able to recover 200 million, it is the 200 million that will revolve within Wakiso as they work on recovering the balance, which is still within the masses. It is a way of encouraging the hard-working local governments to have the benefits accrue to their people. After all, the money revolves within the local governments. That's what I can say. We can keep hope alive that one day those who have not received the money yet will be able to receive as we go on.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Joshua, for your time. And of course, our viewers, the messages are still flowing in. Many people are now saying, we know these programs are there. How do we get to benefit? How do we tap into that? Of course, we'll be having Joshua more often, but thank you so much for your time. And of course, my viewers, for being part of this show. Ruben must come here and give you sports updates. See you in the next hour. Good morning, and keep it on UBC TV.
Will host the 28th Empango.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Joko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of